It's still loading.
Oh.
Hold on.
It gave me a notification like it was like, hey, by the way, are you sure you want to be here?
What up, everybody? Welcome to the Basics Podcast. I'm Jordan Weber. Today, we don't have my co-host, Montana Science guy, Justin Cross, but we got Andrew Bonzo
Hello.
in the building. It's his first time, and a returning guest, Ryan Schweiger. Let's go. Welcome to the pod. Welcome to the live stream.
Well, thank you. Am I the youngest person you've had on? Just FYI.
I think so. I don't know.
Just asking this.
Am I the oldest person you've had on?
No. We've had Buster Johnstone. Buster's like 70.
Damn.
Is he bald? Buster, is he what?
Is he bald?
I think so. I think he was bald, yeah.
Damn, dude.
Buster is Isaac's friend from Home Depot, and he wrote a book. He's a published author. He wrote a book, Contact 02-2022, February 2022. And it's about his contact experience with aliens throughout his life. And so we interviewed him about the book. And I was supposed to talk to him. He went to Alien Con like back in March. And he actually talked to George Knapp. George Knapp is the guy that whistle blew about Area 51 with Bob Lazar back in like the 80s. He's the one that like first brought Bob Lazar into like the national limelight. George Knapp is a radio host from Las Vegas. And so he talked to George Knapp when he was at the Alien Con, and he was supposed to like talk with him a little bit and get in contact with him after George read his book. But I don't know what happened to that. And I haven't talked to Buster in a minute. He said he was going to come back on the podcast after he did an interview with George Knapp. So I don't know if that ever happened. I don't think it has.
Hit him up, dude.
Yeah, I got to hit him up. 444. We're lucky.
The angel numbers, man.
Oh, shit. Yeah, the time. I was like, that's not the day today. What the fuck? It's
the time. So, XRP, dude. Ryan, you know XRP?
Nah, dude. What is it?
Crypto? XRP, Ripple?
Just beat a part
I'm
of it.
I'm still not invested in crypto. I'm ashamed to say.
No crypto?
No crypto. I'm a boomer, dude.
We got a boomer, we got a zoomer, we got a moomer. Wait, no, you're not a boomer. You're a millennial. You're a millennial, right?
I'm like, yeah, I'm a millennial, but I feel like I'm like becoming the definition of, I'm like slowly edging my way into boomer status. Like there's been like 4 things in the last few months where I'm like, am I a fucking boomer? Am I a boomer right now? I'm a boomer. Ugh. So, yeah, it's not good. It's worrying. And then we have people like Andrew that'll be like, yeah, I listened to this song. I listened to it when I was 15. I was like, that came out like 5 years ago. I'm like, he's like, yeah. I'm like,
And they remind me every single day that I'm a Zoomer, so it's okay. I just like to remind you guys that, you know, when stuff came out, I like to ask like what you were doing around that time, because I know what I was doing, but it's like, how old were you when I was doing this?
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm not trying to make you feel old. I think it's just I just like to ask because I think
I preferred if you were trying to make me feel old. Also, I feel like every time that happens, you're like, yeah, I kind of want to know. Like, I'm just like, I feel like you kind of want to know how much closer to death I am than you. No, I'm messing around.
I just think it's because I think it's cool because everybody's got like a moment in place when they remember something. So like
sure.
I always, so it's like, oh, when's the like, oh,
when 9/11 happened, dude. I remember that. I remember that whole morning, dude.
Actually, Andrew, what was your 9/11 like?
I was 1.
Man, you remember it about as well as Congress does. Jesus Christ.
I was I was born in 1999, so the month I turned 2, October 1st. So I was almost 2 when 9/11 happened.
said 1989 or 99?
99.
Yeah, math.
Dude, I remember my 9/11. I was in 4th grade in Mrs. Romanowski's class, and my parents woke me up early in the morning before I normally would wake up to go to school. They woke me up early and they're like, yo, you got to see this. Watch the TV. Watch the TV. This is history being made right now. That's what they said. I remember that. They're like, this is history right now. This is crazy. And I watched it a little bit. I didn't really know what was going on. Like, there's planes flying into a building. Like, I'm just a kid. I didn't really understand the gravity of the event happening. And then, yeah, that was my morning. I went to school and I was kind of hoping like we could have watched it all day in school, because we had those TVs back in the day when you would roll it on the cart, you know, but we still had, I think we still had cable, or at least an antenna. I mean, an antenna or something, but there was a TV in the classroom and I was like, I want to watch this. This is cool. Like, it's exciting, but they didn't do that. We're 4th graders.
Yeah, it's interesting. So Andrew, what was the thing that scared you the most as a 1-year-old, you know?
I literally couldn't remember, to be honest. Like,
yeah, I know, that was the point of me.
Yeah.
It was a fucking joke.
I mean, I'm a little silly. Well, but like, I can tell you what my dad was doing during 9/11, which he was in Kuwait during 9/11. And like, I think I've told you this story before, maybe. But he said every single day when they would fly over, they would get like little bit of buzzard fire, and sometimes, you know, maybe there'd be an RPG or something, but it wouldn't, like, it couldn't come close. They're flying too fast, or
Fly over what?
Well, when they were flying over like Kuwait and Saudi Arabia, when
Okay.
it was like Operation Iraqi Free, or wait, is that Iraq? Is Kuwait next to Iraq? I think so. Either way, it was Operation Iraqi Freedom.
This was earlier, not, this was before 9/11, right?
This was a little bit before 9/11, and so like
Okay.
he would tell me that there would be some buzzard fire and people would fire up at them and stuff. But 9/11 happened, and he said all of them were just ready to fucking go, you know, like, just like
Pissed off, like,
they were
let's
pissed
get
off.
it.
They were seeing red. They wanted to kill, because, like, you know, they just took down the World Trade Center. I mean, it's a huge deal. And
Two of the biggest buildings in America, the most iconic.
yeah,
Like,
just,
what would that be today? What would they have? What would top a 9/11 disaster today? They'd have to do something pretty crazy.
yeah. I mean, it would basically just be like bomb a major city. I mean,
How bigger can you get than the World Trade Centers today in terms of a building? It would be like the White House.
yeah.
And then I wouldn't even be able to tell you the next like building.
Because
Iconic. That would be
because it has 5 sides, and you don't want the
what?
government to know.
Oh, I've never heard of that place. I don't know what you're talking about.
Huh? What? That
That one, I heard that one already got hit in 2001 too on 9/11.
By what though?
I don't know. They don't have any film of it, so no one knows.
Yeah, funny thing about that, huh?
So what was
keep
what
going,
was your
Andrew.
dad doing, Andrew? Sorry, I interrupted that, dude.
No, it's okay. So they start their runs. They start to go out and fly over, because they're like ready to drop bombs and shit. They said it was quiet. Nobody fired up at them. Nobody did anything. There was no offensive action towards them for 6 days after 9/11 happened. He said it was every single day that they would fire up at them, no matter what. But for 6 days after, then they said it was quiet. The city was completely quiet. Nobody did anything to them, because it was like they were trying to tell, you know, the U.S. military, like, that was not us, dude. Like, do not like well, like, we're sorry. Like, that wasn't us though.
Hands up, don't shoot.
Yeah, like, oh, that was please don't. And so he said it was like the most eerie thing. Because it was almost like it was almost a surrender, you know. But they still, after the 6 days, they were like, "Yeah, let's get back into it."
Yeah,
So,
dude. I want to talk about XRP.
yeah,
Crypto.
XRP.
This boom, this BRICS currency, dude. I feel like this is the next big. Okay. To preface, I think like maybe a bigger terrorist attack than 9/11, some would argue could be like the whole COVID scam. Everything that comes to it, shutting down the whole economy, that did a lot of damage to everything. But okay, let's get into XRP. Today, the XRP, Ripple, dude, I'm high. My bad. XRP and Ripple, XRP the token, Ripple won their partial lawsuit against the SEC, and today, XRP the token is up 75%. And what this has done has sparked a day of growth and green in the markets. What are your thoughts?
Everything's up. I mean, did the lawsuit? What did the lawsuit claim? Did it claim it as not a security anymore, or did it keep it as a commodity? Was that what the lawsuit was originally about, or?
I'm looking at it now. I'm on the same page, dude.
It was, yeah. So Ripple Labs Inc. It's a company.
Mhm.
XRP is their token. It says July 13, Reuters, Ripple Labs did not violate federal securities law by selling its XRP token on public exchanges. A U.S. judge ruled on Thursday.
Wait, let's do popcorn reading.
Okay. Can you see the screen?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll call popcorn when Andrew goes. XRP was up 70. I can't even take myself seriously.
How do you do popcorn? What is that?
Wait, you don't know what popcorn reading is?
Do I call it out or do you call it out?
Oh my God, am I that old?
No, I
No.
remember what it is, but I don't
Oh my
remember
God.
if you call it
Wait,
or I
Andrew,
call
do
it.
you know what that is?
Yeah, I know what that is.
Thank God.
Yeah.
Thought I was about to die.
No, you're all right.
XRP was up 75% by late afternoon on Thursday, according to Refinitiv. That was Elcon data. The ruling of U.S. District Judge Annalisa Torres was the first win for a cryptocurrency company in a case brought by the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission, though it did also give the SEC a partial victory. Popcorn Andrew.
While the decision is specific to the facts of the case, it likely will provide ammunition for other crypto firms battling the SEC over whether their products fall under the regulator's jurisdiction. An SEC spokesperson said the agency was pleased with part of the ruling in which the judge held that Ripple violated federal securities law by selling XRP directly to sophisticated investors. Popcorn Jordan.
Where is this?
Got him. You got him.
No, bro.
You got him.
Dude, I got bad eyesight. Where is it?
And where it is possible for the ruling to be appealed.
Okay. It is possible for the ruling to be appealed once a final judgment is issued, or if the judge allows it before then. The SEC spokesperson said the regulator was reviewing the decision. Ripple chief executive Brand Garlinghouse, in an interview, called the ruling a huge win for Ripple, but more importantly for the industry overall in the U.S. Coinbase, the largest U.S. crypto exchange, said it would again allow trading of XRP on its platform. Ooh, damn, that's huge.
That's huge.
XRP has been delisted on Coinbase for like a few years. They were delisted before everything.
Mhm.
They were the first one.
Damn. I mean,
Coinbase is up 24%. to 107 per share on Thursday. I got Coinbase, but I bought Coinbase share at like 250, bro. Like right
Oh,
when it
shit.
first came out. Whatever.
Oh, well, it happens.
It's the way she goes.
Yeah. I mean, I lost some money on Algorand, so it's all right. It's the way it
Yeah,
goes.
but what did you win money on, man? Every single time you ever go like, I didn't hit there, immediately think about a time when you did for counterbalance.
I'm winning on I won on Plug Power. That was a hydrogen fuel cell stock that I was trading in a while ago. They were doing hydrogen fuel cells for buses and stuff in New York and Buffalo. And they got a huge deal with South Korea. And I bought like 20 or 40 shares at $8.40 a piece, and I sold at $62.70 a piece.
Dang, dude. It's
So
pretty cool.
that was a pretty spectacular one that I was able to pull off, but I haven't done anything like that since then.
Yeah,
So.
dude. I always wondered how you had so many cool toys, dude. Now I know.
Yeah, well, I bought the big computer came from mostly just me living at home with my parents, so that was just all I spent my money on for a long time.
Yeah, I've been there. I did that way too late into life, unfortunately.
It's okay. I mean, I would move back in with my parents right now if I could, if they were like right here. I mean, it's just cheaper to live. It just makes sense.
I think other cultures have that better than we do,
Yeah.
where like families live together, they pool their resources, you
Yeah,
know.
like the whole family could be buying XRP.
Well, I mean, the whole family could be saving and getting houses. You know what I'm saying? Like, imagine how much rent you could pool in 3 years together as a family. And like, if you focus on saving, right? And you just,
Mhm.
and then like, you would be able to have that going for. And a lot of families are doing that. I think it's more and more common now that families are doing that.
Mhm.
And it's like there's less of a stigma around it as everybody has to come to terms with a very obvious state of the economy, which, you know, it's funny because it's kind of finally like bubbling up towards, you know, people who weren't affected before. And so it's
Mhm.
like everybody's like, the economy's bad. We're not
Yeah.
paying people enough in America. Healthcare doesn't work. What? It's like,
Wait a minute.
yeah, man. Yeah.
Yeah,
But yeah, back to crypto though.
well, I was gonna say to that, like a lot for other cultures, they do that. That's their culture. They want to do that. They like having that family unit. I feel like a lot of that, those families that are having to do that now, it's not necessarily their choice. They're doing it because they're forced to.
I agree. Yeah, because we're still and will always be a very individualistic culture, right? And like other cultures that kind of that do that are not, they're more of a group culture or a community culture, you know. So whatever they fucking call it.
Okay.
Oh,
Switching gears, baby.
What do you guys know about this?
nothing.
UFO, DC's UFO lobbyist. Who is the lobbyist? Stephen Bassett? What's he lobbying? This guy's just a lobbyist. Like he's just making news. Okay, I'm a
Well, that
lobbyist.
could just be the
It's about to blow sky high. Sorry, I was supposed to read the title and I'm high. Okay. What do you guys think about all the UFO revelations as of late? And do you have any insight?
So I've actually talked to you about this before, Jordan, and I think it's interesting that I've seen a map recently of the North Americas where it's like shown UFO sightings over North America and how it's increased significantly in the last 2 years. But I also made a big reference to the fact in 1944 and 1943, UFO propaganda was being used by the Nazis very heavily to get their citizens to focus more on the air instead of what's going on at the ground. They wanted to divert attention away from the horrible things that they were doing, and they were trying to almost like fearmonger and scare the public into like, whoa, there's something else going on. I do believe that there's like unexplained stuff that we don't know about, because my dad talks about layers of the military that are just increasingly more secret and secret and secret. And like, there's definitely stuff that they're probably testing that other forms of the military don't understand yet, or they just haven't released it publicly to other sectors of the military to calm them down or whatever. And there's also the, like what you were recently saying, when the Chinese like balloon came over, the North American NOAA, is it? I can't remember.
Yeah, the National Office of Aerial
Yeah.
National Aeronautical. I don't know. Yeah, I know they send out the notice to airmen every day.
Yeah, they
National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration.
yeah, they didn't they increase the intensity of their radar as well, and it's been picking up a lot more random objects that have never been seen before, that were just like previously unknown as well.
I don't know.
I just
about
that's
that.
just like that's just what I've seen recently, is like when, or NORAD, excuse me, NORAD, when the Chinese balloon came over, NORAD increased their intensity of the radar, like to like a fine point, to be able to kind of find this stuff. And so like it's caused a lot of like, you know, blips to pop up out of nowhere, because the radar intensity is increased so dramatically. But
Are these blips real objects, in
they're
your opinion?
I don't see, that's the part that I haven't researched, because I've heard like why did so many pop up? You know, if they already have all air traffic control and everything covered, and like all of NORAD, now NORAD is like increased its intensity, why did thousands of blips pop up, you know, than before? Because it's like, well, is there like, I don't know, is there like a ton of balloons just floating around and we have no idea? I don't know.
Why did we have to shoot down 3 of them though? That's my question. Like, why can't, what's our first, if it's up there and it's moving slow, it's not moving, right? That's what they're saying, or it's moving very slowly. Why is it that we had to go and just shoot at them? What does it say about our culture and our society in the United States that that's the first thing we do, instead of flying up there and like taking a look at it and getting close to it? It's not, obviously it's not like hurting us physically yet, but just before we shoot it down, like, why don't we go look at it?
I think they did take a U-2 spy plane around it at one point to try to observe it for a little bit. But my question is, why did they have to shoot it down with a $422,000 missile?
And they missed one.
Yeah.
Well,
Or I
maybe
think
they needed to. What, we don't know about what all went down. Maybe they shot at it first with just like their regular,
Like
like,
30 millimeter.
yeah, whatever like caliber bullets they got on there.
No, they didn't
Try
go
that
guns
first.
They didn't go guns first. They wanted distance from it. I was watching God, I forgot what his name is. I'll have to, but he's a ex-fighter pilot. He's not one of those guys who makes sensationalist stuff, but he was talking about how you want distance. I'm sure Andrew's dad knows this, but you want distance in between you and anything that you're going to be hitting, especially if you're traveling at speed and it's more stationary, because you're gonna go right into the debris, right? So
Oh,
I would assume that they want a further distance for that reason. But also, you know, I gotta be real. If you were a fighter pilot, would you want to go guns or missiles on that?
I would shoot a fucking missile, dude.
Hell yeah, dude. What the
I
fuck?
I would also
Yeah.
shoot a missile. I would just want to
So-
see what happened.
Yeah, dude, they've
'Cause,
been
you know-
having this gun forever.
Because the gun will pop the balloon. But it's like,
Yeah.
okay, what does a missile do?
Oh, they know. They just want to see it.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is, you know, there's a good reason the missile missed. It's not that our missile's bad or anything. It was trying to lock onto a target that wasn't really supposed to.
I
You know?
mean,
What's that say about our military that we don't
It
have
doesn't
something?
say anything. It says that nothing is going to happen to us because if someone tries to come the fuck over, they're done. The only thing that China proved with that is that they could firebomb us.
But
yeah.
but I mean, like, come on, we missed. We're America. We can't be missing at a stationary object. That's not high
how
T.
missiles work.
We
There's a
gotta.
large failure rate.
I know. I'm just saying, as America, we should never miss. You know what I
It's
mean? We gotta
definitely
keep
low
up the image to the world. You know,
Yeah.
they shouldn't
the big
say
stick.
they shouldn't let that out. They should be like, oh no, we hit it first time.
Maybe they did that on purpose. You know what? Maybe they're going like Giga Chad with it, and they're like, "We missed the first one. We missed it."
To
And they're
freak
like,
everybody out. It freaks people out if you say you missed it.
Yeah, like
Well, I remember, my dad remembers too, in the early 60s and the 80s when they were still testing the early Sidewinder missiles. They were not very good. They would just kind of like look for a relative heat signature, but it was like 4 times out of 10, the biggest heat signature was the sun. So
it still happens.
yeah, it still happens. So
It's
you
a
would just
legitimate strategy.
you would shoot the missile out and it would just
Yep.
and you
Yeah, it was
just
way more drastic back then. But like even today in modern dogfights, it's used as usually I think you have to ask your dad, but it seems to me as more like like not last ditch, but like almost accidental, lucky. You know, like I mean, there's probably fighter pilots that are like LeBron James's that can like, you know, actually be like, oh, their sun's here. I'm out of chaff and flare. Like this missile's coming at me. I'm gonna notch and use the sun to my advantage, right? So notching is by the way, notching is like a strategy and technique you use in missile evasion in the way that you place your jet relative to the missile. You always want to be if the missile's coming this way, you want to be perpendicular to the missile because you're going to be able to bleed the most energy with your maneuvers that way. If you're in line with it at all your maneuvers are easy to follow, right? If you're this way, your maneuvers, if you go this way, right, it has to go this way, and then you go down, and it has to go down, then you go up, and it has to go up. There's a lot more movement when you're on a angular plane like that. So,
well,
go
one
for
of the most common dogfighting moves, and I can't remember whether it was like, I think it was in World War II, is when you come out, if somebody's coming up behind you, you straight up.
the Cobra.
And then, yeah, well, you straight up, but instead of like, you know, twisting, you twist back and turn over, just turn completely over. And now you're just going the opposite direction. And it's just one of the easiest and simplest moves that was like created. It's just you come up, turn over, and you flip and you go the opposite direction.
That
And
sounds
early
fun
on.
as fuck, dude.
yeah,
That sounds hella
Well,
fun.
Well, and the thing is about that, so the reason that was a useful strategy is about who you're fighting against, the jets. So like, let's say you're fighting, you have let's say you have a MiG-29 and you have sorry, that's not a good idea. You have an F-14 and you have an F-18, right? They're fighting each other, right? Which one's faster? Guess, Jordan. Jordan first.
Which numbers?
The F-18 or the F-14? The F-14 was in Top Gun, and the F-18 is like the new is like one of the newer things in our fleet. It's basically the new
F-14.
workhorse. It was faster
Because
Andrew,
Tom
I
Cruise
already
is
knew you
hella
knew that.
small. Tom Cruise is hella small. They don't have as much weight to move, so he fits in the pilot seat with less weight, you know. So he goes faster.
I agree. That's the only sound assessment of the situation. Yeah, no, I agree. No, but you're right. The F-14 is actually faster despite being larger, older, because it was built for something different, right? It also has a lot of low speed maneuverability because it can sweep its wings out, which really helps it in low speed scenarios, right?
It has like a parachute effect to be able to like slow down but stay up.
Yeah. Well, think about just a bird. When you know when a bird's out and they're doing this versus when they're diving for prey, right? Literally that. But that's why I just still think the F-14 is one of the coolest because
It's a new dance move.
yeah, the F-14, dude, the Tomcat.
The Tomcat. Hit
That
him
is a
with the
cool name for a
Tomcat.
dance too. What was I saying? Oh yeah, so the F-14, even though it's bigger and older, at the time, like it was unbelievably fast. It can't super cruise, but it can. I think it's two. Ah, shit, Andrew, what's the Mach on it?
What's Super Cruise?
I couldn't. It's when you can it's when you can sustain Mach speeds consistently
Okay.
over Mach 2.
Super cruising is what that is.
Yeah.
Mach
but
1.4.
yeah, I was gonna say it's not 2, but it's definitely over Mach 1. But yeah, but it couldn't, yeah, like Ryan is saying, it couldn't super cruise, but it could definitely be super fast. I mean, the fastest plane that we had in our arsenal, which came out around the same time as what put the F-14 Tomcat out of business, was the F-15 Eagle,
Best of all time.
which is the best of all time. The Pratt and Whitney jet engines that they put on the thing is incredible. It could climb at a 90-degree angle.
It was literally a rocket.
Yeah, it could literally, it could climb to 60,000 feet in 30 seconds. It was insane. And it could sustain over a Mach 2. It could sustain Mach 2.3 easily. It was an incredible plane, but it was heavy. It couldn't compete with the MiG-29 at the time because the MiG-29 could go Mach 3.1, which is almost as close as the SR-71 Blackbird. It was the only plane that could like actually get close to it.
But it's not really that close.
But it's not really that close.
It's actually not even remotely close.
I mean, yeah, it's just the Blackbird was just too fast.
What's the Blackbird at?
I think it was like around 3.7.
Oh, dude, we definitely got stuff that goes faster than that now.
Oh,
they don't tell us about. They have to.
Yeah, of course they do. I don't know. Well, it might not even be financially worth it anymore because the point of those planes was for surveillance, and I don't.
It was mostly the only reason they made it that fast was Lockheed. It was Lockheed Martin Skunk Works, but the only reason they made it that fast is just because they wanted to be able to outrun missiles because there was no missile that could go that fast back then.
Right.
So like they just wanted to get in, take pictures, and just zoom out.
But now I mean, yeah, I don't think we really need that in the same way anymore. I mean, we obviously still have platforms for that, but.
Well, there's no reason for it anymore because the stealth technology has increased so dramatically. I mean, my dad went down to Lockheed Martin, or yeah, it was Lockheed Martin in 2007 and 2008. Came back and he told me that he went to go check out the F-22 for like one of the first times, and he was asking about the radar cross section of the plane, and the I think it was a colonel or the major. I think it was the colonel. Flipped him a dime and said, "That's the radar cross section of the plane. Like that's all you can see in the sky. Is the plane is the size of a dime. Like according to radar, that's all you can see."
Yep.
So it's like
it's wild.
It's wild how you don't even need to be fast anymore. You just need to be quiet.
Yep. Yeah, and going back to where we were at the start of this, that maneuver you're talking about.
Yeah.
The maneuver is for a plane that's faster than the other plane, but doesn't have the same ability to fight, right? So like, let's say you're an F-15, you have an F-15 and a MiG-29, right?
Yeah.
Or was it the MiG-29 that was?
I think it was fighting against the MiG-27 because it was smaller and it was more maneuverable.
Right.
During the Korean War, the F-14 Tomcats outperformed the F-15 Eagles by a staggering number. It was like for every 14 MiG-27 shot down, there was one F-14. And then if you go to the Vietnam War, that's bad. It was 1.2 to 1 with the F-15 Eagle. It was not very good.
Well, but to be fair, none of our air numbers during that were good. You know, I think it was part of the mission. You know, it wasn't necessarily. I mean, it was basically. It was like the F4s were even worse. You know.
Yeah.
But I mean, like considering if the F-15 isn't doing well and you're in a war, you're doing things wrong.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Well,
Like,
it was just a heavy plane. It was just meant for it was like, it's like an American car, you know, it's meant for just drag strip racing. And if you try to take it around a corner, you're going to put it into a tree, you know?
yeah, I think it's more like like a like hopped up trailer, like carrying a bunch of shit. Like, cause that thing can carry so many fucking weapons. It's unbelievable.
Mhm.
Like, and then their new upgraded version is going to be insane. But yeah, like they also had great targeting. The reason the F-14 was actually superior to like a lot of the aircraft at the time was because of its radar system, right? It's it had like I think it was one of the first what's it called? What's the news type of sensor called, Andrew, on those?
I'm not
Well,
like a
yeah.
complete expert.
Anyway, there's a brand new type of sensor on the F-14s that is like now standard in all aircraft, and it was able to target, I think, like 10 different things at the same time. Like it was ridiculous. So
Can you guys see that screen?
Yeah,
yeah,
Can you tell me what airplane that is?
I do.
that's an F-16.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that looks like, is that Air Force, Andrew? Livery?
I'm trying to, oh, well, I guess you can zoom in a lot.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's it.
yeah.
Yeah, that's Air Force.
Cool.
I couldn't really tell. I'm not very, I haven't looked too much into the military in a while. It's been
That's
it's
a
been
beautiful
while
paint
since
job on that thing.
it is.
I still think that, like, it's funny because everybody talks about the sexiest jets ever. I think the F-16 is probably like my favorite. It's man, I love like that scoop on the bottom is like so unique.
It is beautiful. I
Oh,
really
man.
enjoy I really enjoy the one-seater aircrafts because they actually do require significant skill to fly because you're by yourself. You want to know an interesting fact about the F-16?
I do.
The control stick, the joystick on it moves no more than a quarter of an inch to the left or right or up and down.
That's so small.
Yeah. You have
And-
literally like no room for air.
That's
So
not
if you-
comfortable.
Yeah, so like if you're holding the stick, you have like that much wiggle room. That's how you basically fly it.
I would assume they have a lot of stabilization though within that, you know, like
Oh, yeah.
it has to be compensated for. But yeah, like if you panic in that thing and pull it, like in some other planes,
Mhm.
I mean, I don't know. I don't know what the airframe is like on that, but I don't think it's going to go well for you.
I mean, my dad's talked about he's lost a few buddies during training a lot. I mean, it's people make mistakes a lot of times.
Yep. Yeah, it's pretty crazy. The F-16, another thing I love about the F-16 is the single engine looks
Mhm.
so fucking cool.
Yeah.
Like, and then also the canopy. Dude, the canopy is the coolest canopy of any fighter jet that I like, for me, of any fighter jet. Like look, zoom in on that bubble. Look how open that is. No, now type F-18.
I got to go back to the web. Hold on.
But like, you know, this jet, like the F-18 is like,
I took that pic.
I'm not gonna say that's mean.
F-15's what?
I took that pic at the air show at Mather.
That's
You
pretty
took
sweet.
that shit? Nice. That's a great photo, man.
Yeah, dude. That's not Photoshop like mirror or anything. That was their formation. It was like mirror formation,
It's pretty
That
sweet.
and it was
Yeah.
at like the perfect time.
they're so good at what they do.
I lived next to a Blue Angel for the longest time. In Arizona. I think it was like 2 or 3 years. His name was actually John Hancock. And
It's
he
a
had-
fake name, bro. He got you with the fake name.
Yeah, dude, that's CIA. That's
Dude,
CIA.
he was the commandant of the base. He had the tail. Or he had like the one of the it was like one of the ailerons or one of the tails, a piece of the tail of his F-18. He was allowed to take with him because he was a retired Blue Angel, so they let him keep a piece of the plane.
I mean, if anybody is, they should.
Yeah.
Like-
Ryan, do you see these F-18s?
No, I don't see your screen right now.
Yeah,
Oh,
I
for
see.
real?
Yeah, it was like
It was like warped out.
yeah.
Oh, sorry. Let
No,
me
you're
try
good.
again.
Try it again.
I thought I was putting them up for like the longest time. Okay,
Uh,
here we go.
Yeah,
So,
the
yeah,
canopy's small, dude. You can like, especially when they eject, dude, those guys get injured so much.
Yep.
They like break their
Ejections are
necks and
fucking
shit.
terrifying, by the way.
Yeah, if you eject, then you're not allowed to fly again, basically.
Yeah, you're not ever going to be the same person after ejecting. Like people think like, oh, he ejected. Like it's like
He's
no, his life just changed.
Yeah.
Like
He just lost an aircraft that cost the taxpayer an enormous amount of money.
Like
And then,
everything he's worked for.
Yeah.
oh, I'm
and-
talking physically.
Oh no, I know. And then
Yeah.
also I was gonna say on top of that, like you just like basically bruise the fuck out of your neck. You maybe even gotten a concussion. Your back could be broken. It's not a very pretty way of getting out of the plane. It's literally for last minute emergencies. I mean, there was that. I don't know if Ryan, you probably know about this, but the F-15, the Israeli F-15 Eagle that flew with one wing.
Flew with what? One wing? Yeah. That's
Yeah.
why it's like it's basically a rocket ship. It doesn't even need lift. Like
Yeah,
you know what
but
I'm
I mean,
saying?
sometimes if the pilot can understand the situation well enough, they can get themselves out of it. Because he was able to keep the plane flying with missing a wing. But I've seen a lot of videos of people losing a wing and just
Oh yeah. Well, yeah. Some like the F-15 is super stable as well because it has to carry so much weight, right? And it has like if you notice the wings on it, it's like very wide. Lots of surface area.
yeah.
And so like and then it has that super strong engine. So even if you lose one wing, like if you lost one wing on like an F-16, it's like so much more lost
Mhm.
per like portion of the plane and like all that aerodynamically, and it's not as stable aerodynamically because it's like more of a fighter.
It's okay. Keep going.
Yeah. And then so it's more of a fighter. But the F-15, it can just cruise along. A-10s have the same type of thing, right? Like they can basically get blown apart. F-22s, I know you got to see like some cool stuff. The rare thing that I actually got to see that I haven't really had any interactions within the aviation community. My dad wasn't involved in any of it. I didn't have any family or friends. Like I've always dreamt of being a pilot and like learning how to fly. Like I'm gonna start flying Microsoft, flight sim and stuff like that.
Really?
But
Oh,
I got to see the F-22 facility when it was like first getting started and everything.
that's sweet.
We're not started, but like there's a place where they do they cut the body frame out, right? It's not, but it's not, they don't put the F-22, it's so strong because a lot of planes, they have like a lot of pieces, right? Like a car frame, right? That they bolt together, right?
Mhm.
That's not how the F-22 works. The
Mm.
F-22 is from one piece of fucking metal
Rigid.
frame. So you could shoot holes through that thing, like as long as you're not hitting like shit that's gonna blow you up, you can shoot holes all through that thing and it'll stay together, right? But like, and it also allows it to be hyper maneuverable for that reason and be able to withstand the types of pressures and strains that a articulating engine can cause, right? Like how many jets like normally are going like crazy speed and then can like angle and like their turn
Yeah.
radius is unbelievable. That also means that their G forces can be increased, and it
Mhm.
means their frame has to deal with a lot more instantaneous and sustained load, right? So
yeah.
Check this out.
Ooh.
Check this out. So that body that was F-22, you said, right?
yeah,
The body is one single piece, and that's what makes it so good. in these UAPs and these back engineered craft that they say that we have in our possession, the body of the craft they say is similar in construct, but it's aligned at the like atomic level, the way it's layered, and it's perfect the way it's built and materials engineered.
Yeah, like no form of welding could produce something that's that like that's that, you know, atomically secure.
Well, I mean, it's just none of our current technology that we know of can do it. But like I have a theory about the UAPs if we're going to dive into it.
Yeah, let's hear it. Let's hear it.
All right. I think it's a very, very complex issue that is being utilized by the government in ways, but also like overhyped by people in ways. I don't think there's aliens on Earth unless it's been here the whole time, right? That's but other than that, I don't think that like we had aliens like that we're having like the first aliens arrive.
So
I don't think that's what's happening.
So do you think it's like do you think it's like the Fermi paradox?
What's
Like the if
yeah.
I
don't think I think that the probes that we're seeing, like I have a theory about Oumuamua as well along with this, but basically I think that they're probably interstellar probes if they are of extraterrestrial origin. I don't think that flesh and blood or non like carbon based life like can survive in space in
not for extended periods of time.
Yeah, and maybe they figure that out. But like if they're not using light speed travel and they're not going faster than light, then they haven't figured out
what if they
so
are
much more than us that we can't conceive of what they're doing, right? You know what I'm saying? Like this isn't a God scenario. This is what material is this, and why don't we know enough about magnetism to know what they're doing, right?
Our conventional movement
Is
linear from one point to one point, right? And then the limit of the speed between those 2 points linearly is
the speed of light,
is what you're saying. Yeah, the speed of light. But if they've discovered the ability to fold and put those 2 points together and then jump across like that, that's faster than speed of light.
Yeah.
And there's talk about that these UAP craft are doing that.
Well,
no, I don't think so.
Something that Caleb was telling me the other day was he was talking to me about wavelengths and how the electron isn't actually a molecule; it's a wavelength.
Yeah.
And like if it doesn't
like
flow,
the electron's like a photon.
Yeah, right? It doesn't flow like in a like it's like some flow like consistent wavelengths like flow up and down, right? He said it can be in multiple places at once.
You mean the electron, that like they call it the electron shell, right? They used to like it's been conceived of differently over time, but from what I have gleaned, and Caleb explained this to me too, and he did a lot better than either of us are going to do, by the way. But basically, we have not imaged an electron and its movement, so we believe it's like a superposition or possibly some sort of quantum interaction, but like, or people believe. I don't know. I don't even know what.
I sort of understand. I sort of understand like what
it doesn't have a mass. Not like a proton or a neutron, and like how a photon doesn't really have a mass.
But it makes up such a significant portion of like an actual atom, because like without because the valence electrons and everything that can jump over. I mean, it's such an important part of the chemistry of the atom. But it's not really like part of the, I don't know, it's not really
It's
part
the
of the
Trinity, dude. It's the Trinity.
Yeah.
Like,
Father, the
if
Son,
you want
and
to know
Holy
what God
Ghost.
is, look at atoms.
Adam comes from atoms. He's made of it.
There you go, dude. We've made all the connections.
My dad always had this weird theory that the periodic table is laid out in the way, in that specific way, because that's the way that the Big Bang created the elements in the universe. And I always thought it was kind of interesting because he always explained the periodic table as like a dumbbell. He's like, imagine putting it into like a 3D space and imagine it like exploding outward. He's like, is that kind of how the creation of the universe, like, because you have hydrogen and helium, and then from there it trickles down, and some of the heavier elements are in the center. So he always wondered if like that was kind of the creation, and that's how it all worked.
Well, and that's how the universe expands.
Yeah. I don't know.
It's a good point. Yeah. So I think with the UAPs, I believe
Yeah,
that the
that was way off
UAPs
track.
are a probe craft, like probes. They're called Van Neumann probes. There's a fucking awesome dude back in the day that you have to look him up, John von Neumann. He came up with this idea of sending probes out throughout the universe to discover life or discover things or discover planets or whatever, and then to be able to report back. And so they're called, yeah. So I think that this is what we're seeing. I think that Oumuamua very closely, like I think that Oumuamua probably dropped some probes off as it came by the solar system. I think it wasn't its primary mission to come. Like I think a craft like that, a probe like that, is areas they think there could be planets. Like what would we do? We would send it to like areas that we've observed that we think, okay, this is fertile for like planets that can host life, right? And so they could be sending all these things out that can like go and hit that, and then maybe go back around, you know, and hit some other things. I think that's what we're seeing, and I think that if you wanted that to be something that was more covert, so like, because here's the thing, you know how in every movie, like the spaceship shows up in the universe and it's like, and they're like, oh shit, there's a spaceship.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
Yeah.
Well, guess what? What would I do if I didn't want to be known? I would disguise myself as an asteroid, use it as natural shielding, be able to have a layer of water inside of it that I can utilize for propulsion by turning it into steam with solar bodies. So you don't need, so even if you run out of whatever nuclear or other propulsion you might have, you still have a backup of water that also acts as a shield for life if you are going to have life. Like if you're going to actually travel in space, the best shield that you can have is a mile of water around your entire aircraft. That's contained, right? Because there's not any drag. You're not going to like blow that off. You're not going to have, I mean, the worst thing that happens is something hits it, but you just create like a really great shell around it, have all your water along the basically an ocean on the outside of your ship, and you don't even have to worry about radiation anymore.
Yeah, I mean, water is
That's
like
crazy.
one of the most cohesive substances that we know.
Yeah. So I think that what we saw with Oumuamua, completely unnatural object, still not explained. You know how like there's a lot of things, I believe in science a lot, and almost everything can be explained, or can be like, we don't know that yet, but we think we're going to get there, right? Here's the thing. There's some things where it's like you try, like they say it is this, and then you're like, yeah, but I've never seen the evidence. Like I've looked really hard. For instance, how many diseases in the world have we not tracked the origin?
Diseases?
Yeah, like like when Ebola breaks out, we know where it came from really quickly. Like
Yeah,
same with a lot of other diseases, and we track the morphology of all those diseases and where that comes from.
I mean, we killed off smallpox.
So then how have we still not discovered what happened? So it's just like that though. It's like that across the board, right? Like there's things like that you can't explain with science, and the reason is because the position that there is, you can't explain something that's not true, right? And so like the theory of like Oumuamua just being an asteroid or from that interstellar object like that, all the facts don't bear it out because it's you have to go look it up. There's great videos on it, but and look up like videos from actual scientists on it and watch those. Don't watch a conspiracy video, because this one you don't have to watch a conspiracy video. You just have to watch the real people say stuff and go, actually, that doesn't really make sense. And wait, where's the data? Right? You don't even have to watch someone cover it for you. So yeah, I think it was a disguised asteroid dropping off probes. Possibly other ones have been here before, but I don't think so. Yeah.
I actually, to jump on top of that, I do think that like in terms of like relevant and recent space history, we're just now starting to, if there was another civilization out there trying to look for others, we haven't been making a presence in the night sky until recently, like within the last 80 or something odd years. So like in terms of a cosmic timescale, that's 0.0001 of a millisecond in terms of the cosmic timescale. I mean, we've barely been like technically active in outer space. And I've also heard another theory that talks about like, what if we are one of the first spacefaring civilizations?
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
mean,
I think
but
yeah.
but
I've been portraying an idea that I know, like I have one idea about this. It's just like what I'm thinking at the moment, right? Like, but there's so many things from like, oh yeah, it could have been that there's past civilizations that have existed that's been destroyed or not, and it could have been like Atlantis. It could have been it could have been a Van Oven probe, or it could have been an alien that planted themselves here. And there's so many things it can be, but at this point, I don't believe it's nothing. Like Jordan, you remember me last year? Remember, like you bring up UFOs, and I'm just like, I want to believe, but I don't. You know what I'm saying? Like I was like, I haven't seen the evidence. I haven't seen anything that's compelling. Man, those objects are compelling. Like there's video of it. The video that you see from NASA is compelling. And it's like you can you can sense things in people, like what the people are lying about, like COVID or whatever, like that people are lying about that. You can sense it when they're talking about it. Like they can't hide it. Watch the NASA press conference and watch and listen to how the guy is speaking. He's not a CIA guy. He's a known like sign, like, what I'm saying? Like, this isn't a guy who got like, it's not George Bush, whose dad was in the CIA and then president, and then, like, okay, he's probably CIA, right? But like this guy, I don't see CIA to be like that good of an actor type of thing. And there's just too many things going on, right? And like, I don't believe the Vegas thing was an alien. That like, there's a lot of noise that gets generated when this type of stuff happens that can kind of delegitimize the real things that are happening. And if I were the government and people were leaking shit, what I would do is I'd get scenarios that looked really fake and have that flood, and then create a lot of mystery about it and not release enough information and make people wonder. So then they're searching for things everywhere. And then you're also pre-preparing people to tell them the news too,
Like I was saying, dude, the fear mongering part, the kind of trying to keep everybody interested in something else.
What do you guys?
Is there a war going on?
There's always
war going on.
Wars are always going on. Always.
Yeah, not quite like this one, but yeah, I agree. Like,
what do you guys think?
We start most of them and we win most of them.
What do you guys think is the best, like, weapon that we have today? So like
for what?
World War II, we dropped the atomic bomb for the first time. That was like 80 years ago almost.
Yeah.
What do you think is the best stuff we got now?
The most powerful.
Or like new tech, like new type of fit. That was a new type of physics. We weren't doing physics like that before then. You know what I mean?
Yep. Andrew.
So you think there's something out there like that we've got hidden as our like top secret weapon? Nothing gets out, like the Manhattan Project didn't get out,
It's kind of hard to speculate something like that, but I do have an interesting point to that where I told Jordan about this. The Kepler Space Telescope was used by the US Navy and US military for 10 years before they gave it to NASA. NASA had no idea, or NASA had an idea that they had the telescope, but this is a telescope that's similar and close in size to the Hubble, and it was being used to survey the Earth. Like it was being pointed directly down at the planet. So it was one of the most powerful telescopes in the night sky being pointed at the planet. So I couldn't even imagine if there's something like so secret that they want to keep away from us.
What have been the biggest advancements in our understanding of like nuclear power since we like went nuclear with bombs and weaponry and power plants? Is there anything like that we've actually have it has revolutionized
I think
our civilization since then?
I think the only thing that's really come about is stronger and more potent fuels.
Cyber.
I mean, I was gonna say like cyber security and stuff is definitely.
Yeah. When he first brought that up, the most powerful weapon in the U.S. inventory right now, other than mutually assured destruction, like atomic weapons are still the most powerful weapon. They're still the only thing that scares. That wars have existed for all of human history. They've always been fought by either the leaders and their men, or they're usually men. Just the way it is.
Always men.
And yep, pretty much. I was being safe. But their wars have existed forever, and leaders have very, very rarely actually worried about themselves within those conflicts, especially modern conflicts.
This is the
more with modern conflicts. And so, but now with atomic weapons, they are afraid.
This is the only time in history where we've been afraid to go to war because we don't know what will happen.
Yeah,
it's because we used atomic weapons in the past, but then we put a ban on them. We're the people who put the ban on using atomic weapons, even though we're the only people who have used atomic weapons. Yeah. So it's like, who's to say nobody else is allowed to use them?
Yeah, so, everybody's allowed to develop them, but we're also allowed to try to stop them. Everybody's just like, they should have nukes. It's like, why? Like the whole point, and by the way, we're not known to speak, but like, let's say we haven't lit one off in a long time, right? And we've had them for a long time. Same, China and Russia haven't either. But the more countries that have it, the more risky it is, because then every single country can invade no one should have them, but especially not everyone should have them.
Jordan talked to me one time about how there are no nukes. And
that's a theory. I don't know if it's real, but
he doesn't know if it's real. But like, I believe that I don't think you'll ever see one launched again. There's too many people and steps that it takes to get to it. Like, there's too many people that would say no, like in every circumstance. So I don't believe that. I think probably the biggest weapon that we have today is cash. I mean, we're the world's leader in economy. So hold on, but here's the thing.
Sorry.
Is if we really wanted to hurt the world, we just stop doing business with the world. I mean, that's our biggest weapon. Is if we just wanted to hurt people, we just stopped doing business with them. When in the 1980s, we didn't recognize China as a country until I think it was 1986. And the day, like to the year, their trade went up by like 15 to 25% in a year, just because we were like, okay, we finally recognize you as a nation. Or as a like a non, invasive or mean power to us at the time. So I I believe that like if we just wanted to, we could just stop trading. I think
That
that's
is a good point. Like, I mean, we do hold that, but I think that maybe it's a downstream effect of our real power.
yeah, I mean,
No,
sure,
like,
but American manufacturing was we did 50% of the world's manufacturing up until 1960. We could do it again.
oh yeah, no, well, I think it would be good for America in a lot of ways, as long as we like we're selective about the countries we were doing business with, obviously, not just like
Yeah.
isolating ourselves.
Well,
But yeah,
yeah.
like I think that would be that is a huge weapon. Like I think it's definitely the interconnectivity of the world's finances is a big weapon, right? Like we utilize it as a weapon against Russia because if everybody's connected as a world economy, right? And like all the banking systems are kind of tied in and like
Mhm.
because we need to like be able to do business with each other and like have it work. But then if all that's connected and then something like this happens and they're like, you know what, Russia, you can't be a part of this anymore. That is, you're right. That right there is the most powerful tool. It's not us pulling out of the world. It's the world pulling out of a single country is really like the most powerful. Like America pulling out of like saying we're not going to buy from China anymore. Like it is bad, but China can compensate for that by like selling their goods to other countries, and other countries are like they'll capitalize on that. Their costs will reduce or whatever will happen.
Absolutely,
Like,
yeah.
but the only way you destroy a country with economics is that way is the whole world getting together and being like we're fucking you economically, right?
Yeah.
So you're right, that is probably the most powerful weapon, like in terms of like not killing the world but doing something.
It's mostly like the best social weapon that we have. Other than media. I mean, we're a propaganda machine.
I think Russia is too. I think Russia might be better than we are.
No, no way.
No.
America, we're the most propagandized against, dude.
I
No,
don't see a lot
we're-
of I don't see a lot of Russian people sharing American based propaganda amongst themselves. Like I monitor like the Russian propaganda and like a lot of coverage of the conflict and like of what's happening in Russia, you know.
but
And
but the
I don't
state
see a lot of that
media
happen.
but the state media controls everything that comes in. Because America is like a free speech country, anything and anything can be published.
I know that's what I'm trying to say is that they're
Yeah.
currently I think we're a lot better in terms of like attacking and we create a lot of stuff too. We definitely like manipulate the world.
Oh, I
But like
see what you
right
mean.
now within the world, like Russia can like in terms of like Russia can strike us. Like I still have right wing friends that I obviously want to be
Mhm.
friends with everybody, but like I have some people who believe like that that like this is going to be the second coming and they have special prophecies that only they know about, like weird
That'd be
stuff,
cool.
it is
I'm
cool, but
down.
it's like yeah actually, you know what, I'll have you contact him. That it would actually be a cool pod. He's actually an awesome dude. It's just like I just don't agree with his ideas in terms of like how that's going to play out, but
Okay, we'll have him on. We'll let him
yeah.
talk.
Yeah.
Dude,
Forgot
I
what
think that would be sick if that actually happened. Like, I think that would be good for the world if that actually did happen.
if what happened.
The second coming.
Yeah, I mean,
Like,
if
where
it's
are we
real,
going right
then
now? The world's just going to war right now. That's all we're doing. The world just like an economic war, like hot wars. If Jesus were to come back, man, we're then.
Would people go to war?
Yeah.
I don't know. What would happen?
well,
I think it would
I
just be good. It would be a better direction than whatever we're going right now.
That's
wait,
fair.
this is actually a fun thing to talk about because my conception of the second coming comes from the Mormon church and not from just, so like, what is your conception of what the second coming is? Because my conception is that it's chariots, like it's proverbial or real chariots of fire, right?
Revelations,
The loud booming
revelations, like
voice
the
in
end of
sky.
times.
Huh?
Like in the book of Revelations, it talks about a period of time when after the rapture, everything is just like hell on earth, stuff like that. And then he
Yeah.
comes.
Yeah, the Mormon church makes it seem a little bit more immediate. Like it's kind of like and it's actually interesting because they're not like, oh, and every good person gets beamed up and then like they're all safe and everybody else, like it's not like, it's basically like they view it as a cleansing of the world, and the humans are there and the righteous will be spared, but like it's their souls that are spared. It's not, doesn't mean that you're spared. It doesn't mean that you're necessarily spared physically. Like I remember very vividly, like, you know, like a bishop that was, you know, well respected, like super high up guy or whatever, like saying like, yeah, like that doesn't mean that like if there's like God does things and like things happen, like if he's gonna do second coming, but then something blows up because some guy uses his free will to just like, you know what, I'm just gonna start shooting people, or you know, whatever happens, like yeah, you might get hurt and die, but like that's not the point of the point of the rapture is to cleanse the earth and then have you know, ferry the good souls towards heaven and
It's
ferry the
definitely
bad souls towards hell. Or the Mormons believe in 3 kingdoms of heaven, so they don't actually believe people go to hell. They believe that a very, very limited section of people go to hell, which is people who know God is real, like have seen God, and then deny him. So basically, the Mormon Church, when Joseph Smith was like writing all this stuff and like faking everything,
So nobody goes to hell, basically.
except for the people Joseph Smith was mad at
they're
for
truly
coming
evil.
out against him.
I see.
And part of the original, because basically what happened was the original crew was like, yeah, and we saw God, and it's like, and then they later came out like, I actually didn't see God, and then Joseph Smith was like, oh, he's a denier, he's going to hell. He's like, because he knew God, like it's like the worst thing. It is like he knows, like there's a version in the scriptures as well, which is so funny because it was written by Joseph Smith. So
It's definitely a spiritual awakening. Everyone agrees with that. Like that second coming is a huge shift in what's happening in the world, you know?
yeah, I'm not religious, but if it happened, I'd be like, oh shit, like let's go.
Yeah, I'm rooting for it.
I mean, that begs like
I was
like
baptized.
the thought of like if there is a God, he's either not all good or not all powerful.
Yep.
I mean, if obviously if there was like a second coming and the entire earth were to get scorched and people would get to sent to heaven or hell, that obviously means that God is not all good. Because
Yep.
why would he come to earth and scorch it?
Yeah, and well, the response from someone who's religious is God has an eternal perspective, and suffering is a part of life, and that's part of it. And then also that those souls are going to eventually have an eternal perspective again, right? So it's like that's going to seem like, do you worry about the cut you had when you were a little kid? You ever think about it?
Not
That's
really.
how your death will be on earth. When if you believe in that, right? It'll just be a speck. You won't even like, it'll be impactful, but it won't feel like it. You'll be able to remember it and feel it, but you won't be like, oh, like, because if it did exist, if you're thinking logically about it, or if there was a logical way to even think about it. But that's how, like, it's interesting because it's almost a loophole, but at the same time, it's like a logical loophole within their structure. So, yeah. And the Mormon Church is really interesting in that way. I'm not sure what other Christians believe, but they believe that there's a veil that God placed, like that every human knew before going to Earth, that like Earth was going to be a test. Like, so the Mormons' theory of basically starts out, God has 2 sons, Jesus and Lucifer. And they basically they have different plans for how they want to test the souls they've created, right? Because the Mormons believe that God has a heavenly mother. They never talk about this. It's pretty sacred. It's what you learn in the temple, you know, but they have a heavenly mother and they create everything, their own universe, right? And Mormons believe that they can become gods. They can become that. That's why they're so family focused. Like you know what I'm saying? Like it's literally part of like why they view families the way they do. Like the way they view marriage the way they do. Like they believe they get sealed together for time and eternity, and that their mission is to create their own version and create souls that keep going down and until they have their own universe, in the afterlife. So it's very interesting. But like they believe that there was a veil. So Heavenly Father, Jesus Christ, and Lucifer, and they wanted to come up with a way to like have those souls be tested, because if everything's perfect, then like whatever, I don't know, and because they maybe also believe that everybody should go through that cycle, otherwise they're not actually like beings. Like in order to become a being, become conscious, you might have to go through that. But you also have like a intelligence and a conception of something before, right? And a lot of this is actually like, as I've lived life, I'm like, oh, actually infinite universe and like a lot of stuff, and like actually it's not completely inconceivable. Like even if you just said, hey, if an alien race did all this, you'd be like, actually, like it's got like, so
it's higher intelligence.
Yeah. And so Jesus came up with an idea and Lucifer came up with an idea. Lucifer's idea was like forcing, it was basically no free will, and Jesus, it's really kind of a like, okay, good and bad, we get it, right? Like, like, because it's like, okay, but then why would that even be like, it's dumb. Lucifer is fucking an idiot, dude. Like he's like, oh yeah, if I'm gonna make all these souls come online, we should just force them. Like, why even send them in there in the first place, you dummy? So then of course he gets cast out because he's a kind of a dick about it. And then Jesus, they get to enact his plan, but then God's like, love your plan. I got a few notes. So there's gotta be a sacrifice, like, because they're gonna be sinning down there, right? Like we gotta somehow wipe that away, dude. We gotta make that all better. Okay, like, because if they come up here, it's gonna be all bad, and we don't want all that stuff up here, right? Okay, so listen, don't be upset. Just what we're gonna do is we're going to we're going to nail you to a cross, and we're also before that going to make you feel all the pain and suffering that ever existed and ever will exist within this universe that is created by God. And he's like, but that wasn't part of my plan though. No, but he took it like a champ though. Honestly, they believe that's what, most Christians believe that, but like that's what happened. And they believe that there's a veil. So we all knew, they believe there's a veil that God placed on us so that we don't know. And then the test is that you're exposed to the religion, and you're supposed to feel the spirit and like make these decisions and like become a god, but if you don't become a god, there's 3 kingdoms of heaven. And like, so like, if you've never heard of the gospel in your entire life, right? Ever, like if you live, like if you're an African tribe or like a whatever tribe, and you've never even heard of religion, outside of your own, and like, well, it's not logical, right? So they believe that you still have the chance to like learn about that and then like move your way through heaven, because the lowest kingdom of heaven is a lot like earth from their perspective, like, so it's a lot like earth, whereas, and then it gets better as it goes up. The top kingdom is where like God of this universe resides, and they kind of foster the like growth into a god as well, right? But the people from lower kingdoms can't visit the higher kingdoms, but the people from higher kingdoms can visit people from lower kingdoms. Like maybe this isn't all canon, but this is very, very like common within the church belief, right? So, but within all that, it makes sense that like this would be a the type of, it really makes a lot of sense logically speaking. It just doesn't make sense to me every other way. So yeah. What is do other Christian religions believe in a veil?
I
don't know.
I wouldn't actually know. I'm not I went to church when I was young, but I only remember donuts.
Oh shit.
But give me a second. I gotta feed my guinea pig.
Oh yeah. I wish I only remembered donuts. I wish that's all I remembered.
What I learned about Jesus was that not necessarily of like the big takeaway was that Jesus lived a life and was a person that strived to set an example of a lifestyle you should like strive to do in your own.
Yeah.
You know, it was a good example. So in that regard, if that idea of thinking to where the majority of the population on the planet thought that way, I feel like would be a second coming of consciousness for humanity on this planet, to where we could really like start to come together and work towards positive change in like our country or the whole world, hopefully.
Yeah, dude. I think that there's cycles in history, and I think we're in kind of an interesting one, but I think I don't know. I believe in good things, right? Like if I didn't, then I don't know. I wouldn't be able to deal with everything, right? So
I feel like positive energy in this like metaphysical reality that we live in, positive energy, it has definitely been kicking ass so far. Because if negative energy ruled the world, nothing would exist. Like negative takeaways always wants to go to zero, right? But positive energy shows like we've been as a life and timeline through universe, there is something here.
yeah,
Like there's matter here. And we're at just one point in time witnessing. But it's like positive charges, unless, I don't know.
Andrew,
Hmm.
you're talking about Jesus, but I kind of want to talk about, because I kind of like took it towards religion, which I regret. I mean, hopefully it was interesting, but like I felt like I was monologuing. I hate that. I hate being that. But I want to know more about like the fighter jet stuff. Like I never get to actually pick your brain about it enough, you know?
Mhm.
What is your favorite plane that's not the F-15?
First I have to say, I'm gonna go back to Jordan's point for a second, and I do believe that the like legitimately positive energies is probably one of the best. Like just if you're constantly putting it out all the time, you just constantly feel good all the time. So it's like it's definitely winning in that regard. Because like I try to stay positive all the time, and it feels like it works, but I don't know. Sometimes you get the down days, but yeah, no, I like to keep the positive energy around. But anyway, to go back to what you were talking about, there's a couple aircraft that definitely have my heart. I mean, the Spitfire is a beautiful plane, and I love the way it looks. The RAF was very, very good at flying them. And actually probably one of my favorites is the F4U Corsair. I love the canopy and the sweeped. It had these beautiful sweeped wings, like gull wings, and
Like a Tyrannosaurus Rex.
yeah,
Or it's like a pterodactyl. It always looked like a pterodactyl to me.
yeah, and they could fold up, and they folded up onto each other, and you could fit like 40 of them on a carrier. It was a beautiful plane, and they sounded amazing. Same thing with
Pull
the
that up, Jamie.
Same thing with the P-51 Mustang,
F-14, what?
the
No, F4.
F4U
Oh, F4U.
Corsair. Same thing with the P-51 Mustang. Actually, there's a guy, I think he's in Mather or is around the area. I think twice a year he flies around his P-51 Mustang, and I heard it flying around one time, and it sounded beautiful.
Dude, those P-51 engines, like, it is one of the most beautiful sounds I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah, and they sound gorgeous. These aircraft are like, you can buy one of these. They're like $4 million.
Wait, really?
Yeah, you can buy one of these. There's a guy actually up the hill. So if you're driving up 50 and you come along Bass Lake exit, over to the right, there's the guy who owns that like farm on the side of the hill there. If you have a tall enough vehicle, you can peek over and see, and next to his barn, he has a Corsair that's sitting there. That's just like a shell and a body. And I don't know if he's waiting to sell it, but they're definitely, even as a shell and a body, it's still worth like half a million to $1.5 million.
Wow.
And he's just like, has it just hanging out in his barn.
I honestly thought it'd be more than that, you know? Like I
mean-
could have easily seen, because if I was a super rich guy that wanted to fly planes, that'd be like the first buy.
They're incredibly hard to take care of.
Oh,
That's the
well,
only.
but
That's
then
the
you
only
have
thing.
someone take care of it for you.
It's just they're just expensive to own is the
Yeah.
problem. Because I mean, it's a military aircraft. I mean, it costs $44,000 an hour to fly the F-22, so it's probably the same kind of upkeep to fly one of those.
But in the reverse, because it's super old. And
I
like
mean-
you're not gonna have all the part, like you're gonna have everything, have everything done custom.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
that's what
just so-
was the biggest failure of the Tiger tank in World War II is even though it was an amazing design and the 88 millimeter did a lot of damage to the Allies, they couldn't produce them fast enough because it had over 1,000 handmade parts. I mean, if one of those handmade parts failed, that was it. It was stuck there. So that's just kind of one of the many failure points. It's like if you don't have something that's mass produced, it's like it's gonna be way too expensive to get.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Like the plane might be 4 mil, but the upkeep might be way more than that.
Yeah, it's gonna cost you 4 million just to own it for like 2 years.
What's the best helicopter that we have today?
That we know of.
I think there's one called it's called the Desert Fox. I can't remember the actual specific name of it, but it's used by I think it's used by the Israeli military, and it's used a lot by the people in Nepal and China because it's one of the only helicopters that can fly up to like 27,000 feet. And it's incredibly maneuverable at thin altitudes. That's the reason why none of the bodies are ever rescued on Everest as well, is because it's just you can't get anything up there. It's just pointless.
There is one case of a person taking a super light helicopter to Everest, the top.
Yeah, but it was experimental.
And it was
never
unbelievable he was even able to do it. Like,
Yeah.
think of like think of it like you're literally. I actually had it described like this. It's like running across like the thinnest thing you could possibly think of. You know, like that. Like you can't like not even a tightrope. You know, it's more than a tightrope. Basically, it's because you have no lift to play with. Like there's no margin for error. Any like variation that where you fail or you don't hit like an air current right, you're done.
It's a stall. Yeah, you're done.
Yeah.
You drop like a fly.
Is this the right helicopter right here?
That's the
That's
Apache.
That's a Cobra, actually.
Is that a Cobra?
That's an AH-1Z Cobra.
Is that a real one or like a model?
That looks like a real one. They weren't very big, actually.
They put it on the nose of this other aircraft.
Oh, dude, the perspective like messed with my brain.
Yeah, it's because the photos focused on the guy in the foreground.
They're very big aircraft, but
I think
yeah,
the Apache's the best.
I think you can kind of tell what an Apache is by the gun mount on the front.
Yeah,
This
I'm
is
just
Sikorsky CH-53E Super Stallion.
that's not a attack helicopter.
Yeah, I sell those all the time. Actually, on the outside of the Yuma Air Base, there was a fence that you could hang on to, and like when one of those things would take off, the fence would blow you up, and you could hold on to the fence while you were like being lifted up in the air. Those
That's awesome.
Those things were incredibly powerful. They're used so fervorously by the military because they are one of the they can carry like 2 tanks inside of them.
Yeah, it says heavy lift.
Yeah, they're incredibly powerful aircraft.
Look up the Mi-26. It's like, it's crazy.
Give me 1 second.
This one,
8
is this a
blades.
heavy lift helicopter?
It's the biggest.
Oh, this one right here is carrying a plane. Can you see that?
Yeah, it's the biggest heavy lift helicopter like ever. It has 8 blades. Wait, let's wait to talk. Like, I don't want Andrew needs to be a part of this. This is too
That's
good.
tight. Andrew was the one telling me about how the more blades you have, the quieter your flight is, and you have more lift.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
so what got me thinking is like the consumer drones, they only have 2 blades, except for a few, which are rare. They have 3 blades on the propellers. Is that could be like a military thing? The military's got the good ones that have extra blades on it, so they're faster and quieter, but they don't want to sell that to the consumers in the commercial sector because then we get into trouble with it.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's you notice how floppy those blades are too. Because like it's actually the same kind of physics that an airplane wing uses, like especially the larger airplanes. Because if you don't know, like when the aircraft starts to get up in the air, the wings start to flex, and they can flex up to like 16 to 32 feet. And
That's
it's
a
crazy. It's crazy how far an aircraft wing can flex before braking. They do very, very rigorous testing to them. That's why aircraft failures are so rare.
I was on the flights in New York last year, and this lady started flipping the fuck out because like the guy, like we had like hit some turbulence, and she watched the wings, respond to it,
Mhm.
and then she was like, no, no, no.
She thought she was gonna fucking die, man.
Oh,
I love people that think turbulence is such an issue. It's like, you'll be all right.
yeah.
It's a much different feeling when it's an incredibly different feeling when the plane is actually experiencing tough and like a stall, because it's like it's less of a dropping and more of a buffeting when you start to feel like a boom 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 boom. It's like the air's like against you. It's a very unpleasant feeling.
Yeah, I'd say. I don't know. This is an interesting segue, but have you ever read the Mary Roach book about death? About cadavers. It reminded me of this because planes like very rarely break up in air, but
Yeah.
like the cases where they study that the planes do break up in air, they found that people do survive the breakup, and they even survive the fall, and they wake up because they pass out and they wake up falling.
Mm-hmm.
And people have lived to and hit the ocean after a plane breaking up.
You want
And
to know?
I've always thought that would be kind of dope.
You want to know something? You want to know something
I'm
kind
good.
of awful? You want to know something kind of awful and interesting? Every single one of the astronauts on the on the Challenger when it exploded was
Were alive.
alive until it hit the water.
Yep, and one of the people in there monitoring their vitals was one of their husbands.
Yeah, dude, it sucked. It
Can
sucks.
can you imagine?
I could.
I bet you they had comms. They
Nah,
might have.
they released
No.
they released footage of it, because the plane broke up so dramatically. They immediately lost all contact.
Yeah, and back then they weren't going to have any sort of comms. I don't even know if we have comms now that you could still communicate
Yeah,
after a breakup like that. Anyway,
yeah,
but
yeah.
like that's wild. And so yeah, that's something new to fear.
There's very few instances where like breakups actually happen. I mean, it has to be like total and catastrophic failure of the airplane, it's like I'm pretty sure there's only there's not many like breakups that have just occurred. You know how like just plane flying along and then boom, it just breaks apart.
Yep.
There was one over the South China Sea. I mean, you probably watched those videos as well of the airplane tragedies. I mean, I was studying it a ton because when I was traveling, I wanted to know, you know, what was safe to fly on, and because like Amtrak, the travel site that we use, like told you all this information. It told you what plane we were flying in. I got to fly in a 757 once, which was amazing. It was a beautiful experience.
That's
It was,
Donald Trump's plane.
yeah, dude, it's considered the Ferrari of the skies. It's incredibly smooth. I was so excited to fly in it. I was like, when I had learned about it, I was like, this is an amazing experience, actually. But it's just it was just for traveling. It wasn't for anything like cool. But
What's the
but
coolest plane you've been in?
well, we the military had these weird no cost flights that they would give you. I mean, they were hell long, but you get to I mean, you get to fly for free in a C-130 like to anywhere you wanted to go, or like a C-5.
I hate you.
So like it was just kind of like just bring a knapsack and just lay down and then just fly to your destination. Um it was kind of, they're loud and obnoxious. But they're kind of neat to fly in. I've never flown in a helicopter though. I think that would be a cool experience. But yeah, I got to fly in a like a C-5. But that was probably the most interesting plane that I've flown in. I got to go inside of a B-17 before. But never like a B-29 or anything like that. Anyway,
What's up, dude? What's up, Jordan?
yeah, how's it going, Jordan?
What's the coolest car?
I got to say, well, interestingly enough, like I didn't get to like sit in it or do anything, but I think it's just noteworthy. Like I went to a Barrett Jackson with my dad in Scottsdale, Arizona, and they were selling some pretty interesting vehicles. One of them was Justin Bieber's Liberty Walk 458 Italia, which was it had like a body kit and everything. It looked pretty cool. But I've got to see some pretty rare stuff at those events. I mean, from 67 Shelby GT500s, which I mean are some of my favorite to look at, but I mean there was some stuff there. There was oh yeah, that they were selling that there. It was a
That's
pretty
sick.
sweet car. And then they also had Steven Tyler's, I think it was Steven Tyler. Steven Tyler's Hennessy Venom, which I think sold for like $1.5 million to $2 million. That thing was pretty cool. Like it's like 2,000 horsepower. He said he hated driving it because he was so scared of it. But yeah,
It's there. I feel like there could be a huge trade-off in like how much power you have to your wheels and then what makes the drive actually fun.
yeah, that's
You
why
know,
he
if
said,
you have too much, it's not fun.
yeah, that's why he was there, and he ended up saying like he went on stage and he was just like, yeah, it's not fun to drive it because I'm scared of it. Because it's just like it's not enjoyable.
I'd rather drive a slow car fast than a fast car slow.
Yeah, I would like to take that car for a test drive.
Give me 1 second. I gotta order
Yeah,
food.
well, yeah, and the car too, right?
What car?
Nice. What's the best car you've ever been in?
The best car I've ever been in. I don't know about best car. Let's see, favorite car that I thought was really cool.
Oh,
Because I don't know. I've only been in one sports car ever. And it was in like one of the newer Corvettes that they've come out with. So it was the black one. And I got to go for a ride, and that was cool. That and probably like a Tesla Model X. When that first came out, it was like super fast electric car. Even though it was like a midsize SUV, it's still like pretty quick because it's electric, you know. But the coolest, my favorite one I've ever been in, I think one of my buddies has this orange it's not like a PT Cruiser, but it's kind of like a PT Cruiser. He used to have a PT Cruiser, but it's this orange one. It's really low to the ground. He's got subwoofers in it, and he plays it so loud it hurts my head. You know, like you're in there, it like starts to tingle your ears, and I'm like, man, this is fucking me up right now. So that one's pretty cool.
You can like actually feel your ear hairs. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Have you ever had that where it's like you're like, I can fucking feel my hairs. Like I'm not hearing sound anymore. I'm feeling my hairs.
Yeah. And
So-
that's like me dying. That's what it feels like to me.
Really?
Oh yeah, I don't like it's like
You don't
it's
like it?
too much, you know. It's like you don't want to be there
Yeah.
for extended time or
Also, it's really bad for your ears.
that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
I have
But yeah,
terrible
so it's,
hearing because I did dumb shit.
what about you? What's the coolest car or your favorite car that you've ever seen? Or
So
been
the most expensive car I sat in was a Bentley. I think it was like a Continental or whatever, but it was rented by this Chinese businessman that like supplied the like shitty arcade cabinets for this arcade company I used to work for, Dream Arcades, which by the way, great product. Like we would always just like basically have to rebuild the thing. Like it was a waste of fucking time to order it from him. But he like came over to like see our stuff and basically do a vacation that like, you know, he basically was doing a vacation with his family because his family was all there. And like, so it was so awkward because his family was all standing there. Like, and like, he's like, comes like, see, you know, comes like, so we were like, and like, and it was unbelievable. Like it was opulent. Like you know, like I'll tell you about the coolest car I've been in and the coolest car experiences, but like this was like different. Like
the
it was
interior?
opulent. It was like, for instance, you know how when you're in a bathroom, right, and it's like a cheap tub and toilet, right, and like you can feel like, and maybe even it wasn't done right, and it was like you could feel like it flexing or whatever.
Like apartment
Yeah, yeah.
stuff.
Or you live like in a trailer that has, but then you have like solid ground, like a real tile floor, and it's like perfectly done, and like
Yeah.
it's like big and it's like spacious, and like it's just, you know, it's like it's super high quality, it's gorgeous, like embosses and overlays and, you know, all these other things. That's what the Bentley is.
Yeah.
The Bentley was like opulence, and like you felt like when you sat in it, you felt like you weren't in a car. You felt like you were sitting in a chair in a room.
It's a whole different experience.
Those
are the same way.
I actually couldn't believe it. I was like, what, how did like they do this, you know? In terms of like, I don't know, it's just heavy as fucking, I mean, like, it's just wild, how nice it was. And then I got in my like Honda Civic, like literally an hour later to go home. And I was like driving home, it's like, fuck.
You're like, this is a toy. This is not like a real car.
And I mean, I was still grateful to have it, like,
Yeah.
but there was just like, and I was just, it wasn't like or like, it was just like a small moment of like, damn, dude, there's levels to this game.
I feel like
So-
a normal Toyota is like it's used as a tool. You're using it as a tool to get you places, travel and whatnot. But the Bentley, they're selling you an experience more than the car itself.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah, exactly.
beautiful.
Well, and then the coolest car I've been in, or the coolest car experience, I would say is 5.0 Mustang, at the CHP Academy.
That's pretty sweet.
This is back in 1995. I can next time I'm on the podcast, I'll get you the picture. But if you want to now, you can that YouTube video I showed you. You can you can see like the newer cars doing what my dad did. on my channel, but we can do that. But basically, you go on the high speed track, and you're basically sliding around all these corners on the high speed track that they use to train police officers in high speed evasive driving. So like controlling the car at high speeds, and like the police officers don't actually learn how to slide. They learn how to slide on the skid pan, where they put a lot of water on a slick surface and have bald tires, and you can practice throttle control and steering control and balance. My dad was able to literally do it from the passenger seat. He would have his like if someone was fucking up, he would like whip his dick out basically, and freaking like put, left hand on over right, left foot like over the area, because there's so much room in a Crown Vic,
Yeah.
so and then just doing it with his left hand. It was pretty sick. But yeah, like 5.0 Mustang on that course, they do a 360. That's all weight transfer, and then powering out. They slide. They do, I think, a 250-foot power slide at 95 miles an hour, around a 90-degree corner. And the last guy in the row has all the smoke from the other cars, so he's looking at the edge of the dirt. He's riding the line, dude. I have a video of it on my channel with the newer cars, but with the 5.0 Mustang, it was violent. It was like when you're sliding, you're like, oh, and you're like, holy shit, because they take people. If you look up EVOC, EVOC, that's what it's called, EVOC. You can watch like people who go on rides and they record them, because they would like give rides to people basically. It's kind of a cool thing, but they were also put on shows for like government leaders and things like that, and like basically like show them, hey, this is why we need these tires, because we're training the CHP officers, yada yada yada. So anyway, coolest car experience, sliding in a 5.0 Mustang that my dad's driving.
I forgot to mention as well, my grandpa in Michigan, he had a 1931 Ford pickup that he didn't like, he bought it, he didn't buy it or anything, he just kind of like slowly built it over years. Like it took him a really long time, but he got these seats, the seats in it from a Cadillac that was in a drug deal, because he found it in the junkyard, and it had a bunch of holes all over the leather, from bullets hitting the seat. And he took them out of that car, and then he just reupholstered it and everything. But that was that's probably the neatest car that I've been in. All the other cars that I talked about, I just got to look at, but my grandpa's car was probably the only one that I actually got to drive it and see. It was really nice.
That's so metal.
I'll be right back if that's okay.
Like,
yeah,
like, dude, I kind of want to go like search scrapyards now for like seats with bullet holes in them and like put it in my car. I think that's just awesome. Every time you get in your car, you just see a bunch of bullet holes. You're like, damn.
I mean, it's kind of cool. He reupholstered and fixed all of it though, but I remember the first time he took me in the car, he was so excited. He gets it out onto the road, and then he just looks at me with this like devilish grin. My family is standing there on the side of the road, and he just is like, he just looks at me and he goes, "You ever done a burnout before?" And I'm like, no. And then he just clutch kicks it super hard, and I just whip back in my seat, and he just starts doing a donut in the middle of the street, and then he just tears out of the neighborhood. And I was terrified when he did that, because I thought he was gonna kill us, but he just ended up driving normally after that. But when he came back, my mom was so pissed at him for doing that, because she didn't know. I think after that, were we in? I don't know, but yeah. Anyway, that was like the one. That's like the one thing that I remember from that grandpa, is like him just like looking at me like, "You ever done a burnout before?" It's like, "No, I'm 5," but yeah, that was a good time.
Grandpas are the best, dude.
I haven't seen that guy in a while. Some
Alive?
grandpas, yeah, he's still alive.
Yeah.
Some grandpas I have to say are okay. I do have a grandpa that I want nothing to do with, and I've talked about a decent amount. I'm not gonna get into that, but
you're not gonna air family problems on a podcast?
no, no. It's just, that's a different time. It's a different time. But actually, we are with the other grandpa, the one who did the burnout with me. We are trying to. My dad and I are planning like a Barrett Jackson thing, and we're trying to do Scottsdale again in January. So I'm hoping to see him then and get done then, because we were actually going to go to Indianapolis with him for the Mikamoto auction that I went to last time with my dad, but it was COVID and he had prostate cancer, or he was recovering from it. So he didn't want to risk anything. So he didn't ended up not coming out. But hopefully my brother and I will be able to see him again at this next one. Yeah, it'll be kind of neat. All my family's gone from the state now too. So they're all in the East Coast.
Damn, dude. I still have family near. I actually haven't experienced that yet.
I mean, it's pretty neat, because they all just decided, well, I guess it's time to move. And they're like, well, let's get up out of here. I mean, I'm here because of NorCal. So, and I mean, I actually not just because of NorCal. I mean, obviously I stayed for Bella and to stay with her. It's to stay closer to her family. But yeah, NorCal definitely helped me stay here. So, because I was able to afford to live here.
Yeah.
But dude, I do have to say, like, when I first started in the warehouse, it was close. Like,
I
'cause
think
we were,
everywhere in America it's close right now. You know,
I mean-
if not, it sucks.
I mean, it does suck, but when we first started in the warehouse, dude, I got paid 15 an hour.
Yeah.
And I like basically made like barely 1,400 a month, like
How many
1,300.
years ago?
This was like 3 years ago, not even, because I'm coming up on my 4th year.
To be honest, the market and wages have exploded.
Yeah.
You know,
It had
like
to.
which is they had to.
Yeah.
But not enough actually.
No, not nearly enough.
Yeah, that's why we invest in Bitcoin.
God damn it.
Let's go. Diamond hands.
I sold
Hodl.
my algo like
Okay,
a fool,
I
but
know
got-
you're not giving advice. This is not financial advice.
this
What
isn't
are
fine.
the 3 Bitcoins you believe in the most?
The three crypto
Like
projects.
if I were to invest today, or you were to if you were to have $100 right now that I gave you, just like because I was your friend and I didn't want anything back, I was just like, I want to see how we invest this. What would you purchase? Three different ones, and how much would you purchase of them?
I would do like right now, like I would do like 80% Bitcoin and then 20% DOT.
Just 2.
Just 2. Yeah.
See, I mean, that's fair.
Oh,
You were
no. Oh, let me take that back. Let me take that back.
Oh,
Let me
okay.
go back. I would go 40.
40's nuts.
No, 50 Bitcoin, 30% Monero, 20% DOT.
Monero. That's something that I still haven't gotten in, is Monero. 'Cause,
Monero's great because it's proof of work. So you can mine Monero like anywhere. Like you could do it right there in your apartment. It's not like staking where you got to put up your money. You're not necessarily helping out with computations of the blockchain, you know, like a proof of work is. So it is more decentralized, because when you stake, you're putting your money in a pool. So it's proof of work, and the ledger is not public. The bookkeeping's not public like Bitcoin. Bitcoin, if a whale who moves like $2 billion worth of Bitcoin
You see it.
moves it to a different wallet, anybody could see it. Monero, nobody sees that except for you and the person or the owner of the wallet address you're sending to. And then you could go back in your history and see what you've done and where you in the places you sent it to, but no one else can. So it's a privacy coin. And that's what the black market's using right now. They are always about like what's the most true and free way to do something to where no one can stop you or find you. And that's what they mainly do.
Do you think there's going to be interference with that? Preferably from like outside agencies to want to remove it because of its usefulness in that kind of market?
Right, but they can't remove it because it's proof of work.
I see.
Anybody could
Anybody
run
can
in a
work-
miner.
Anybody can work it, yeah.
So, but it's a great way for, I'm not just the black market is not necessarily like a bad thing. There's like, you could buy steroids on a black market. It's legal in Mexico to over the counter to buy steroids. So, but in like America, it's not, it's things like that. It's not necessarily there's bad things up there. Like, yeah, it's used, there can be like sex trafficking and all that shit. But I'm saying like, there's a marketplace for items that you can't get in the United States that aren't necessarily bad things.
Yeah.
It's just the laws of the country we live in.
Make it so.
And that's the law is a weird thing. It's not, the law is not necessarily what's moral, So, but Monero is great for those privacy reasons. You don't want people knowing how much money you have because people will come after it. Like the government comes after our money every which way through taxing us. You get taxed on the dollar that you make at work. You get taxed when you go spend that dollar. If you transfer that dollar to another bank, there's potentially like fees attached to moving that to another wallet account, bank account, whatever you want to call it, and that goes to a third party. That's like, you're losing money on that. So, and then the person that you spend it at, they're making that, let's say you spent that $10, they're getting taxed as an income. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So the privacy coin is good for a true capitalistic society so that you can't just have like bullshit taxes come in too. You can't have government say like, well, that's ours now. Like they can do now. Peer-to-peer, you don't have that third party that's just leeching off you. That's what's great about peer-to-peer monetary transaction and movement.
Yeah. Yeah, but that's, yeah. No, I hear what you mean. It's just
those are my three, Ryan.
Huh?
Those are my three.
I like it.
What would you
Andrew.
What would Andrew do?
Personally, I'm becoming a larger fan of Bitcoin, so I would probably do 50% into that. And then maybe honestly, maybe 40% as well into Ether. I know that Jordan believes in Ether a lot less than I do. I mean, he had some at one point. I don't. Someone who isn't me. Yeah, someone who isn't him.
Someone who isn't me.
I said
like,
at one point.
Has ETH. He had ETH. He had more ETH. Now he has ETH. But
now he has
there's less ETH.
There's some.
But ETH is good
in there.
But when that question is, I'm also taking into account if I put it in ETH, am I getting the return that I want to get?
Yeah.
On it.
Yeah.
So I'm not as confident, but I said DOT. I'll be quick. I said DOT because DOT by the SEC is classified as software, not as a security. So they're not even getting in trouble with the government in any regards. They got the green light to go ahead and do what they're doing as a company and organization.
SEC oversight, basically.
What was that?
They basically have no SEC oversight, is what you're saying.
Yeah, dude. And the more you learn about DOT, I did an episode about DOT a couple episodes ago. I talked a little bit about the basics. It's basically laying the framework for blockchain it's like a blockchain operating system. It's considered a layer 0 blockchain, but imagine for computers, there was DOS, and then like Windows came out with, or Microsoft came out with Windows, and now you got this nice graphical user interface. That's kind of what DOT is doing with being a layer 0. It's for Web 3.0. I could go all into this right now, but that's like the basics of it. So it's considered software. It's considered different than the securities, and it's not just about money movement like how a lot of the crypto space is. So it's very interesting. So that's why.
Okay, I like that a lot more, because I've always, like, I think maybe it's just like, I don't know. I think I just don't like wasted energy in certain ways, you know. And maybe that's hypocritical in some ways. We're all wasteful, but like, just like the idea of like all these computers running and like solving problems that like in hashing, like I know it needs to be done, but I'm like, I wish the hashing could be converted. You know, I wish the processing, like the problems it was solving, was doing something useful with the power. Because it's not, it's keeping it secure, but like it could keep it secure and like do something else. You know, I don't know. Maybe it can't, but like it just seems really wasteful energy wise, you know. So,
Andrew, what were?
but I don't know.
Sorry
like,
to cut you
that
off,
might
dude.
be not true. So.
No, I'm watching my dasher trying to find my apartment. It's kind of funny. But probably the last 10%, I don't really know right now, because I mean, as much as I liked Algorand, they're like like I was telling you, Jordan, they're like AlgoFi or whatever. I can't remember what it was. Right now.
DeFi.
Yeah, that's their DeFi fund. That's right. Just went into withdrawal mode, and they're closing their doors. And they're expected to like get rid of or I can't remember, like 55% or something like that. And so after I saw that, I was like, that's like the main. It's like a significant portion. That's important. So I kind of like lost a little bit of faith in the project after that. So I'm not really sure right now.
Ryan, one other thing why I like DOT is because the DOT leader and visionary is Gavin Wood. Gavin Wood was on the Ethereum team with the big head guy. What's his name? Vitalik Buterin.
Yeah.
And Charles Hoskinson, and he's the leader of Cardano. So, and Gavin Wood in Ethereum, he was the guy that wrote who created the programming language Solidity, and that's what Ethereum uses. Gavin Wood didn't like how Ethereum was going. Like him and Charles had different visionary outlooks on the future of the blockchain space. And so they went and created their own, for Gavin Wood and Polkadot software. And he created a whole new code. It's like he wrote, it's like C programming, you know, it's like a programming language. That's what Solidity is. He created a whole new one for this DOT ecosystem. He was like he's a smart dude. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
So,
dude, I'm definitely interested in crypto. I'm like so skeptical and don't know enough, and I know how deep of a well it is, and I like to research things fully before I go in. It just feels like something that I don't have time to even research, if that makes sense. So it's like it feels unwise to invest in because I don't have time to wisely
invest. It doesn't really take that long to learn anything about it. I
really?
mean, I've picked it up kind of here and there over the years. I mean, it's kind of simple to understand if you start at like Bitcoin. You know, if you try not to start like a project
start with proof of work. That's like basic, like level 1 crypto. And then there's like staking. Then you get into staking. It's like new generations of blockchain. Like proof of work is like imagine like Gen 1, proof of stake is Gen 2. I don't know. It's levels of technology.
Okay, cool. That actually makes more sense is when you know, talked about like operating systems, you know, it really clicked because of like the way operating systems developed over time. And like, it's pretty cool. Like looking through the history of like operating systems, I like highly recommend it. It's super interesting. There's a lot of cool videos on it. And like, it's just crazy. People like take for granted like how crazy all of that, the rise of computers has been.
Yeah.
So yeah, and this is just another extension of that. We're finding a way to make computers art. Like it's the new gold, like it's gold to paper, you know, a barter to gold paper, a gold to straight up like not backed by gold, and then crypto,
Well,
you
it's
know,
like
digital,
Dude,
and then fully digital, right? There's like credit cards, and then there's going to be crypto, right?
well, it's like you take like it's like, okay, with the final form, it's like, then after that point, what do you do? Well, I guess you could make monetary transfer instantaneous. How do you do that? Oh, well, I don't know. Let's just build this proof of work system, and then let's build on top of that. And then we'll build deeper into that. You know, it's kind of it's the concept of just like, how can we make things better and better? It's like, it doesn't necessarily have to be, you know, like a hoarding fund, you know, or like
it
a place
doesn't.
to store millions of dollars. I mean, it's
It,
literally just a working concept.
yeah, it's not. It doesn't even have to be like considered for monetary stuff. Like Bitcoin, people think about it. It's holding monetary value. They call it digital gold. But what a lot of this technology is digital verification that can't be forged. Like you can verify digital items. It's not just a screenshot or whatever when it comes to like a NFT picture, but it's the same. There's a lot of different applications for that. But the best way I think to learn about it is just doing it and like making yourself a wallet and learning how all that works and what a seed phrase is and how to recover and how to send and accept
I
stuff.
mean,
Like because it's like as a kid, your parents teach you how to like what is a bank account and routing number, or like how to do a check, or how to do stuff online banking. It's kind of the same thing except a little bit, you know, it's different. It's got its own flavor to it. You learn how to write a letter and format it properly.
instead of
Same
it's
thing.
basically, instead of the bank facilitating the money, you can just like, you do it all yourself.
Yeah. And mailing addresses, that's you get the wallet address, you send it. And that like once you learn like how all that works, and then in how stuff is being sent around, it kind of makes a lot more sense when you look at other like technical aspects of it and what it's trying to do or accomplish.
I know what you're saying.
Yeah, it's got a lot of real world applicability. And like, even if the whole even if like all of it fell to zero tomorrow, I still think it would be used. Like the concept would still end up being used, because money is moving more and more to a digital space in the first place. Like they're kind of just still trying to eliminate cash as much as possible. And there's instantaneous transfer options even now for just cash. I mean, if I want to send like money to my mom or something, I just use her phone number and I can do it through like Zelle. Like Bank of America uses Zelle. And if I wanted to, like, I sent her like $3,500 one time and I did it instantaneously. Or it might have taken, you know, like a couple minutes, but it didn't cost me anything. And that's kind of the same, it's the same concept, but I mean,
But it has a third party.
yeah, it can just, yeah, it's got a third party, but the difference with the crypto is just like you own it, and it can grow as well. It's not
Mhm.
just like, that's what the interesting part about it is, just like you can, it's money that you can send around, but it can also be worth a lot more in the future. So
That's like
holding,
I think I should probably invest in that. Like, I think maybe I've been putting up, I do this with other things like working out and shit. I think everybody does, where you're kind of like, not yet,
Putting it off. Yeah.
not yet.
Ryan, were you there when I was talking about project or Operation Sandman?
No.
So I
I'll
saw
also,
this.
I got to roll in like 10, 15.
Okay, let's go to
Sorry.
7.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Operation Sandman is this rumored operation by economic members of the BRICS Plus Alliance, to where they're going to time somehow a cooperative sell-off of U.S. treasuries that all these BRICS member nations hold, and doing that to get their money out, and so then they could then put it into this new currency that the BRICS Alliance is launching in August. And it would be catastrophic to like America if that were to happen economically. And it's a way for them to like just transition to a new economy on a different global trading, using a different standard, gold back, commodity, rare earth mineral back. So it's a rumored economic attack, sort of, kind of. It's for their own good, but it would hurt us.
So this is, and here's what I believe about this. And I was thinking about this like right before we got on. If their option is to create, remember how I was talking about innovation and manufacturing? If the option is to create scarcity, or basically to create like a currency based on like actual physical resources, as we get to a point where, yeah, that resource becomes more scarce and more expensive, and that way these people technically hold this over us because now the resource is more scarce and now we have to buy into it to get it from them. I think that's where the innovation comes in, where you're going to find like less and less countries becoming reliable on that kind of resource, just because they're finding a different way around it. You know, it's like, oh, well, if lithium is becoming more scarce, you have the salt ion batteries that are becoming that is becoming like a new innovation. And then on top of that, like, let's say gold disappears or like silver disappears. There's going to be some new conductor like graphite that's going to like take its place. So I don't know. It'll definitely hurt if they achieve it, but I don't know if it'll be a total economic collapse. You know, I think it'll just end up improving innovation over time, and people will only, it actually might help, you know.
Well, I think it would definitely help in the long run, because with what our political leaders are doing with the dollar right now is not good. Like,
Yeah.
it's just not sound economics for how they just print money and then move interest rates all around. Like, they're doing that because the dollar itself doesn't stand for anything, right? It stands for what we say it stands for, and that's pretty much it, our word. So to have something that stands for something and that can be traded for physical goods that can be used to help drive your civilization,
It's important.
It's important if you're going to like really thrive in the long run.
Especially for nations that are already like not really seen as like, you know, actual superpowers compared to the US and like China per se. Because
We call them third world, dude.
Yeah, we
They're
call
not
them
even
third
second.
world.
We're like, fuck you guys. You're all the way down there. You're not as good as us in America.
Yeah.
Just slap in the face to call them that.
So I believe that it really is like a way for them to, it's almost like it's almost like they're unionizing and nationalizing themselves to create a greater nation. I feel like that's probably where the world is heading politically and geopolitically, is like probably greater political, just total coverage of like, well, this side's going to be more communist, this side's probably going to be more capitalist. So why don't we just all kind of stripe ourselves the same? You know, I don't know, but that could be probably what it's heading to. So I feel like more and more we're just kind of like nations are like, oh, well, I'm going to pick you and I'm going to hang out with you and I'm going to keep all these other people away.
Yeah, well, definitely with Russia and China, I can see why they don't like the way America acts.
Yeah.
I don't like the way how America acts.
Yeah, a lot of people
and a
don't.
lot of things, but I don't have an answer for the way America acts. If I was a leader and I could change some things, I wouldn't do it that way. We're doing it
Yeah.
now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, I can see why they don't like that either. So
Yeah.
they want to go start if we're not gonna play ball and like all come together with them to make everybody stronger, they're gonna go do their own thing.
Yeah, I mean, like ultimately, I think it's them trying to say like, okay, we're gonna come off of U.S. reliance. We're gonna move away from this, because people have been kind of like basically suckling at the teat of America for a while, and America's given like nothing back. And I think they're just kind of like, we can kind of just fuck off and do our own thing now.
It's like when they ban people from Facebook, then they just go to Rumble.
Mhm. I mean,
So if you get banned off back in the day off Twitter, then you went all to Gab or Truth Social. What was
yeah,
that
now you
other
have-
one?
they have-
Parlor.
They have Threads competing with Twitter.
The water will always flow.
Yeah, innovation, man. Like I was
So I
saying,
mean, like if you block something, where do you think the fucking water goes?
somewhere else.
It's gonna still find it. It's gonna find a path,
Yeah.
or it's gonna stay where it is because you dammed it up really well. So
All right, dude.
there's no
You
pool
wanna
to
end
jump
it-
in, bro.
What?
There's no pool to jump
Oh
in.
yeah, you moved.
Yeah. There is a window though.
That's
Those are some
beautiful.
nice windows.
Yeah, dude. That's
Jump
a
out the
nice room.
window.
It's a big ass room. It's a big ass room. That's kind of nice.
Okay, that's the Basics
Anyway.
podcast. Thanks for tuning in, everybody.
Sliding glass doors
Thanks for having
unlocked.
us.
Or it's locked.
Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. I'm Jordan Weber. That guy's Andrew Bonzo. That other guy's Ryan Schweiger. This was the Basics podcast. Basics out.